Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I've been away for a few weeks traveling around Berlin and France, taking a lot of pictures, both digital and film, but I am back now, so I'm here to share my little trips and share all the pictures with you. Berlin has always been at the top of my bucket list of destinations, and to be honest, I didn't really do that much research. I really wanted to just pack my bag, pack some film, pack a camera, and go and shoot whatever I saw first. And I suppose you could say I had three main ambitions on this trip. One, I really wanted to buy a new camera. I thought Germany is the home of so many amazing camera brands, and Berlin is very famous for its flea market, so I put the two together and hoped that I would be able to find for cheap an amazing camera. We'll get to that later on. My second goal, I suppose you could say, was to try a new film while I was in Berlin. I wasn't really sure what that meant, but I've been shooting Ultramax a lot, Kodak Gold, a bit of portrait here and there, so I thought something a bit different might be fun. And the third thing is that I wanted to capture some Cold War history. I'm really interested in the Cold War. Obviously Berlin is one of the centers of all that, with the Berlin Wall, all the things that we'll discuss in this video. So they were my three ambitions. So I'm going to see how many I can tick off the list as we go along. This video is going to be split into two different parts, color and black and white. This video we're going to be focusing on the black and white film that I shot whilst in Berlin, and then I'll make a separate video about the color film that I shot. Now, before leaving for Berlin, I only had basically 2 rolls of film left here in Edinburgh. I had a roll of Harman Red 35mm film and some Cinestill 800T. And to be completely honest, I didn't really know how to use these films in Berlin. Cinestill is obviously a really amazing film that I've still not had the chance to shoot yet, so I thought maybe I should shoot that here in Edinburgh. And Harman Red being the sort of experimental film that it is, I thought maybe, considering I only had a few days in Berlin, it might be a bit risky to take that. So I ended up basically not packing any film, only my cameras. The cameras I brought for this trip were my Canon A1 SLR, which you've seen a lot on this channel, my favorite camera to bring with me on holiday. And I also had some other cameras, but I'll discuss those in future videos. So for now, we're going to be focusing on my Canon A1.
Please do secure one of the camera lockers for items that public goes to take a photo down and full picture.
So day one in Berlin, we arrived really early, and my main goal that day was to buy some film, and we also wanted to see as much as we could that opening day, just so we didn't waste any time. Natalie really wanted to go to Mauer Park, which is this amazing park in the center of Berlin that's famous for food, drinks, there's music, but it's also got a flea market on Sundays, and we arrived on Sunday, so I thought, perfect, I'll be able to find a Leica for 20 euros. Obviously I wasn't expecting to find a Leica, but I was still deep down hoping to find a cheap rangefinder of some sort. But we arrived at Mauer Park and I started shifting through all the boxes. I'll be completely honest, I think most of the cameras that they got are either from clear outs or wholesale, so a lot of them are completely broken or unusable, and I didn't really understand why they were selling them, to be honest. There were a lot of interesting cameras, a lot of Soviet cameras, there were a few Zenits and things like that, but I didn't end up picking anything up just because, one, it was actually more expensive than I thought it would be, and two, most of the cameras, as I said, were broken or completely unusable. One thing I did find, however, was film. There was a stall selling film and also cameras, which really interesting cameras they had, very expensive though, so I ended up not picking up a camera. I did pick up, however, some Fomopan 200 ISO black and white film. So right off the bat, the new film, I could check that off the list because I've never shot Fomopan before. I've heard of it. I believe it's a Czech film, which is really cool because I'm trying to shoot films from as many different countries as I can, so I can write off a Czech film for now, so that's really interesting. But I've never shot Fomopan and I was really intrigued to see what it would be like. The only things that I'd had heard from it, from other people who've shot it, is that it can get quite grainy, especially if slightly underexposed. Always better to overexpose it, but that was just some things that I remembered briefly, so I was really excited to try it. So I loaded up my camera. Then we wanted to go and find more things like the Berlin Wall and a few other things, so I will now leave you on a quick montage of the pictures that I took on the first day on some Fomopan 200. Looking back at these pictures, I actually really love them. I loved Fomopan. I always love a really contrasty black and white film, and I think this one really did deliver well. I was overexposing slightly most of the time. I was using a light meter on my phone, and I'd always try and go maybe one stop over, and I'm definitely glad I did because I don't think it hurt at all. Not a broad 50mm. As I mentioned, I'm a big history buff when it comes to the Cold War, so a lot of the pictures taken at the time look quite similar to this in the sense that they're very grainy, often very contrasty. Now, either that's because of cliches like espionage or just because the films that they were using at the time and the methods that they used at the time tend to lead to results slightly similar to my pictures. So I'm happy that it had that quite vintagey, mid-century, early 20th century look to the pictures. But yeah, overall, I was really happy. I'm a big fan of this picture right here, as well as this picture right here. I think that was the sort of overall aesthetic that I got from Berlin and that I wanted to try and put onto film. Bearing in mind how cheap this film was, I'm pretty sure I got this rolled for about €5, maybe €6 max. I think it's actually really sharp. I love how it deals with the highlights and the shadows, and as I said, the grain is fine when it's correctly exposed. Once it's slightly underexposed, like you can see in these pictures, the grain starts becoming quite obvious, but for all the purposes that I wanted to use this film for, that actually ended up helping me more than anything. But that is to keep in mind if you ever were to use this film. But to be completely honest, for the price that it costs, I think it's definitely a film that you should try out. There were so many Cold War buildings and things I ended up visiting. There was this cafe here, the Cafe Moscow, which was really amazing from the 60s. It had a model of Sputnik, the satellite Sputnik 1 on top, which was absolutely crazy. I'm actually still relatively new to black and white film, so I shot a lot of cliche things like sort of film noir vibes. There was this train station in Berlin, which was actually really dark, but I ended up shooting that. I think I must have been about 15th of a second, and I'm happy because it's not too blurry with the slow shutter. I think it ended up being all right. I quite like the mysterious sort of Edward Hopper vibe that this picture has, as well as pictures like this in the staircase sort of reminded me of The Third Man or one of those 1930s German expressionist films. So I was really happy with those pictures. Overall, I'm really happy with the images. I was still just walking around Berlin, exploring a lot of the time, so I didn't always take pictures. There were a few times I wish I did looking back. But I think for just capturing memories and capturing moments in history, I think they did it really well. I did take a lot of pictures trying to include the TV tower because you do see a lot when you're in Berlin, even in the distance. So a lot of the shots I always try to incorporate it, even if it was hidden in the background. So I sort of made in my head a mini little series of 4 or 5. Which I ended up being quite happy with, to be honest. I like that it's always peeking out in the background, specifically this one right here. I love the old East German mosaic on this building and then the TV tower overseeing everything in the background. I don't know, I am quite happy with that one. I do like the ones of all the buildings, this one of Natalie in front of this cafe here, as well as this sort of mural that was on that same building, or building very near to it anyway. Then you can actually, in another shot, see the whole building with the mural in the background, so which I think helps give a bit of context. I think my main intention of this role, as I mentioned, finding out a bit more about black and white, getting used to it and all that, but it was also to try and make little sets and series, which is why I often include the TV tower, often took a few different angles of the same building, like I said with the mural, or like of the one where Natalie's looking at the cafe. There's another shot here which is, I think, not as good, but I don't know, for me I always try to add a bit of context, add someone in the frame, experiment a bit instead of just taking a bunch of photos or anything. I tried to be a bit more intentional with my photos, and I don't think they ended up being that bad. At first I did want to push the Fomopan maybe to 400 ISO, and I'm really glad I didn't, because I think it's already far more than contrasty enough. I'm very happy with the look now, and yeah, definitely a film I would recommend. That is going to be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed. I'll be back next week for the other rolls of film, the color film. There's a few more pictures of that, and then obviously a video about my time in Paris, and then some very exciting videos about the other cameras that I brought along to Berlin, which I'm still waiting for the results. For all I know, nothing worked. Maybe they did, I don't know yet, but I'm very excited either way to make a video about those. So I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment and subscribe, and as usual, I will see you next week for a new video.